In the last video, we discussed the number of options we have when using labels and how to use appropriate precision or significant figures. In this video, we'll continue on and talk about implementing effective tooltips. Hovering the mouse over any data point in Tableau will bring up the default tooltip with the fields associated with the mark listed along with their values. This alone is an excellent feature when you're looking at a chart without labels or where you'd like to communicate, say, a percentage of total, but only as a secondary measure to the actual number on the viz. This is only a starting point though. The real power comes when you can use them to tell a story. So let's hop in and edit the tooltip just by clicking the box. So this is a very simple story to tell. There are 4 unshipped orders that need to go out by delivery truck. This will work just like label editing, where it allows you to use the fields you have added to the sheet as well as parameters. So let's go ahead and type that text in. 4 unshipped orders need to go out via delivery truck. Then we'll replace the 4 with the number of records. Control X, Control V, and then the ship mode. Control X, Control V. And we can see what this will look like by clicking the preview button. 4 unshipped orders need to go out via delivery truck. Now we're telling a good story with our data, but the style doesn't really match our dashboard. So let's go ahead and change the font to Trebuchet. We'll make it 12, bold, and let's change the color of the ship mode to our blue. Looks like it fits a lot better. Another thing we can do to really clean up this is to remove the bar with the command buttons. So we hit OK, we hover over, we have this bar down here with some very useful buttons if you're an analyst looking at this and trying to dive in and make something out of it. But if you're actually just consuming the information, these can get really confusing if you haven't used Tableau before, especially if somebody accidentally clicks on keep only or create a set. They have no idea how to get back. So we can disable that bar by going into Tooltip and unchecking include command buttons. Now when we hover over, we have a clean story with nothing else to get in the way. One final thing we could add here to help our viewers is to explain the interactivity right in the tooltip. So if they click on the chart, they'll be taken to the order detail page to view the orders. So let's tell them that. Surround it with asterisks to help delineate it as a note. I also like to lighten the font, maybe a lighter gray, italic, not bold, and that kind of looks more like an instruction. Providing instructions in this manner seems to be quickly becoming a Viz best practice. So next, let's move on to create a tooltip for our combo chart. You notice right now if you mouse over the bars, you get a different tooltip than you do for the line. For the line you get the ship service level, for the bar you get the number of records. When you have multiple marks cards, you have the capability to customize each, but we'll be using the all card. That way they look the same for the line and the bar. The first thing we need to do is copy both values from the rows shelf into the all marks card. So I'm just going to hold Control and drag them into Tooltip. Now mousing over should give us the same tooltip, the number of records and ship service level, and then if we mouse over the line, number of records and ship service level. Let's go ahead and edit the tooltip. We want it to say service level value, ship service level for the number of orders shipped during the week of week of ship date. Let's also format this in the same manner. And hide the command buttons. Now we can add a bit more context by showing the goal parameter for our tooltip. So let's use a line of dashes to help separate a couple sections. We'll go back to our darker gray and say service level target is, and then we'll use our parameter shipping service level. So now we can preview this and see our parameter shows up here in context. That's helpful, but what would be even better is to say whether we hit or missed service level and have a visual indicator of that. A lot of Viz best practices are going one step further and actually asking yourself, or even asking your audience, what question are you asking with this data? What are you trying to answer? And if the answer to that question is, are we making ship service level, that's an important thing that we want to know, then let's tell them that, not just give them the information to figure it out. If we give them the ship service level and the ship service level goal, they're still having to do the math, and that takes time and effort to figure that out. We want to simplify that and say we made it or we missed it, and then provide the supporting numbers if they're interested. So to do this, let's hit OK. We'll create a new calculated field. Let's call this ship service level made. And we want this to say if the ship service level is greater than or equal to our shipping service level parameter, then made, else null. And what this will do is this will return the text made when we've made our service level. So let's copy this and hit OK. And we'll make a new one. We can actually just duplicate it. We'll edit our duplicate. We'll say ship service level missed. And what we'll do is switch this around. So it's ship service level is less than shipping service level. Then we want to say missed, otherwise null. So now let's drag both of those fields to our tooltip. And make sure, again, that you're on the all tooltip. So since we're getting a little packed here, I'm going to slide some of these parameters over to the right. And then we'll hit tooltip. So what we want to do is insert those fields right here next to each other. Service level made, service level missed. And let's color the made text blue. And we'll color the missed text orange. And let's just change this line to read made missed service level target of shipping service level. So now if we preview, both of these will show up in color as null, but one of these will be null, which won't show up at all, and the other will show up. So we'll always have one or the other. Service level target of 85%. Let's hit OK and test it out. So here we made the service level target. Here we made it as well. Here we missed it. See, the blue line is below the goal line. What we're doing here is essentially tricking our tooltip into showing one or the other, but never both, and that's how we can control the color for text conditionally. You can do this for numbers as well, so you can have 76% be orange if we missed it, or blue if we made it. We just have to duplicate the fields and make a made or a missed, drag them in there, put them both in, and color them accordingly. So this is definitely telling a more complete story with helpful color-coded language to allow the user to quickly digest the information. One final element we could add to this tooltip is an explanation for how our service level KPI is calculated. So let's click on Tooltip and copy this row. And then we'll type in a description, service level calculated by taking, and we'll make this a light gray and italic, and not bold. One thing you may have noticed with these verbose tooltips is that they only appear for 8 seconds unless you slide your mouse over top of the tooltip. So unless your user is aware of that and how to keep the tooltip up by mousing over it, they're going to be limited to about 8 seconds of reading. If you write an entire novel in there, you'll not only overwhelm the user, but chances are they'll become frustrated trying to read it all. Another idea for definitions and other data source information, you could use a URL action to put a link to a separate dashboard page you created with all your definitions in one spot, or some other external resource. That way when they'd mouse over, they'd see a blue underline link go to definitions page, and they'd be able to get all their information on there, and that would unclutter the tooltip a bit. To review, we want to use tooltips to tell the story. First, we should always, and I mean always, hide the command buttons for our end users. They're powerful for you and I as we work in Tableau and understand what they do, but they're nothing but trouble and distraction for end users. We can use tooltips to explain in sentence format what each data point means. And we can do this with color-coded language by using calculated fields to return either positive or negative value, placing both in the tooltip and color-coding them. Finally, we can help answer some of our users' most pressing questions with tooltips like, how is this KPI calculated, by placing the definition right in the tooltip. So now that we've dialed in our tooltips, in the next video we'll finish off the dashboard styling by working with our parameters and legends.